Shalom, Yashrala. This your brother Dawada from GMS St. Petersburg, Florida, coming back at you with this here truth again. First and foremost, I want to give all praise unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rachakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that taught us this truth and that rule well. And salutation and much love for you, I can pushing this truth and sincerity on the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. All right, so I want to just quickly jump into this quick little lesson. I'm going to try to keep it real short and add some videos to the end, all right? But nevertheless, to kind of bring you up to speed to what happened over the last couple of days. And, like with the scriptures we're going to get into, let me just start with that first real quick, and we'll go back and we'll read all the way through that in Psalm 64. Psalm 64 and 8, it says, "So to make their own tongue to fall upon themselves, all that see them shall flee away." All right. So this is, pretty much going into what this here lesson is about. All right. Because right now, with the propaganda that's going on, and which we'll get into that as well too, with this overthrow in Venezuela, a lot of things is going bad for America. All right. They normally, you starting to see these curses falling upon them. They starting to lose that sword that they got. All right. I would say they normally pretty good at this. They can get through this real quick, but they've been struggling with a lot of the things they've been trying to do for, not so long ago, from being out there in Syria. They didn't get what they wanted in Syria. You look at the pattern. They got Saddam real quick. All that was good to go, whatnot for them. They got Gaddafi. You see what I'm saying? They was like celebrating how quick they went up in Iraq. You know what I'm saying? Iraq. They went what was that city they went through was it Baghdad? Might have been Baghdad. They said they like liberated Baghdad in a couple of days or whatnot. They was all all happy about that, you know what I mean? And then they went up into Libya and took out Gaddafi or whatnot. That was kind of, whatnot. But nevertheless, you see them trying to struggle with these terrorists, and he's still fighting with them. They try to overthrow Bashar al-Assad. Well, not to say they're struggling with the terrorists. Salakia, that's a bad statement. They were never struggling with the terrorists. They are the terrorists. That's the same shit that we going into now. This is their own people. But Bashar al-Assad, they weren't successful with what they wanted with him, But nevertheless, you see these same things popping off. This is the same thing the so-called white man has been doing over, really shit. He's been doing these same wicked things over and over again. But nevertheless, as far as coming into America, all right, once he got into his superpower state from I believe it was might have been World War II. I believe at the end of the World War II, it might have been actually at the end of World War I, where America, it was World War II, I believe, where America was basically slung into a superpower status, all right? Or it might have been World War I when it was slung into the superpower status, and then by the end of World War II, they was like damn near one of the, not the sole superpower, but you know what I mean? They was pretty much all the way up there. It was just between them and Russia, but then you had the Cold War, and hey, Russia wound up falling, all right? But nevertheless, you have these how you say, coup d'etats or overthrowing governments that America like doing to keep themselves in top position, all right? But nevertheless, let me go into these scriptures. Like I said, I'm going to try to keep this real short. It says Ecclesiastes 7:7. It says, "Surely oppression maketh the wise man mad, and the gift destroyeth the heart." All right. So going into this here lesson about what's going on in Venezuela, you have situations like what you're hearing on the news about this humanitarian aid, being blocked by Nicolas Maduro and so on and so forth. And really the truth of the matter is that humanitarian aid is not being blocked by Nicolas Maduro, because he's receiving humanitarian aid from Russia. I believe it's like 700 tons or some shit like that of like medicine or all kind of things like that. All right. So he's getting humanitarian aid from not only Russia, but he's also getting humanitarian aid from I believe the EU as well. All right. The only people he's denying humanitarian aid from is from America. All right. And those trucks full of aid from America. All right. Nobody was able to verify what was inside of that except for like, a few reporters from like CNN or something else like that. Nobody else was be able to verify it. And just like in Fast and the Furious with Eric Holder and Barack Obama running guns down in Mexico. All right, or what your girl name is, Hillary Clinton, and not Fast and the Furious, with the Benghazi deal. All right, arming the terrorists out there in Benghazi. All right, you see what I'm saying? These are the same things that they be having going on. All right, so it says, "Surely oppression maketh the wise man mad, and the gift destroyeth the heart." All right, you have our government lending out so-called humanitarian aid, but this humanitarian aid is not necessarily humanitarian aid. All right, this is just nothing more than a Trojan horse. That's what they've been naming it on the news lately. It's the so-called Trojan horse. All right, but that's really the prime example of the scripture speaking in, you know, in reality right there. All right, you know, they're like, oh, we want to give you, you know, if you know the story of the Trojan horse, right? Like, oh, we want to give you this here gift to show you this so and so. And then they bring in this big ass horse inside the impenetrable walls or whatever, whatnot, because the defenses is up. You can't get beyond these walls because why? The defenses are up. But if you lower the defenses and you bring in this here gift, all right, you lower your defenses. So now what? They done rolled the horse inside the walls, all right, and then at the right time when they was least expecting, all right, the door opened up and then all the men came from up out of this big ass horse, all right, this big ass Trojan horse, all right. But nevertheless, this is pretty much what you have going on here. This is one of the tactics of America that they be doing. They go out in the world with the so-called humanitarian aid. They always go out in these wars in a sense of they in a neutral position or in a position to bring liberation or aid to somebody else. You know, they step into a conflict just like with Syria. All right, there was a so-called. First of all, America was staging I mean, hell, it's the same fucking game plan they're doing right now. All right. America was staging a coup with Bashar al-Assad with Syria. They wanted to overthrow him. So they went over with the CIA undercover and basically had their little operatives out there, you know what I'm saying? And it was going to stage them to overthrow the government, you know, come up with these rallies and these protests. Right. And then they started sneaking guns in so they could arm them. And then they could have them try to overthrow the government. All right. But then when things go bad, when, you know, the CIA controlled opposition start clashing with the government, and then the government have to try to defend themselves and put these dissidents down. All right. They aired on the TV and say, look, this government is killing its own people because they're using the people from the place to begin with. All right. So when you see it on TV, I saw you see like, what, are the same fucking people? He killing his own people. Look at this shit. You know what I'm saying? But nevertheless, you see that on TV and they use that as the propaganda. All you see is the so-called government killing or fighting or combating with these other people that you think is their own people. And so what? America stand back and they just showing you this on TV and they tell you what? Oh, they're holding their people hostage. They're stopping food from going to the people amidst the conflict. We're not going to go over there and get in the middle of conflict. We just want to go over there and make sure that the civilians are eating. We just want to make sure they're able to get food. We're not going to go over there and deal with none of this stuff. We just going over there dropping, you know, we call them shits pallets worth full of food, you know, but in all reality, what they be doing is dropping what pallets worth of, or full of guns and stuff like that. Just keep arming and arming and arming more people. All right. They basically give you that Trojan horse when it's talking about that humanitarian aid. All right. But nevertheless, let me just continue on. It says, surely oppression maketh the wise man mad and the gift destroyeth the heart. All right. Let me grab my next couple precepts and then I'm gonna just close out. This is Psalm 64, all right? It says, a Psalm of David. Hear my voice, O Yahweh, in my prayer. Preserve my life from the fear of the enemy. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity, all right? Now, what's up with this secret counsel? Going back on what? Psalms 83, right? They trying to cut us off, you know, going back to Genesis 27 and 27 and 41 and 42, all right? Esau said in his heart that he wanted to kill Jacob. He was going to slay Jacob. All right, this ain't went away. All right, we fast forward to Psalms 83. It's the same deal going on. All right, Esau's still there trying to cut us off. All right, he's trying to cut us off completely. All right, so it says, hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity. All right, and they trying to, like I said, wholly exterminate Jake. All right, who whet their tongue like a sword and bend their bow to shoot their arrows, even bitter words. All right, and going into the so-called white man's special power is what? He got an actual sword, which is his military arm. Then he got his sword, his tongue, which is another sword that he devoured with. All right, because why? He come around with his deceitful ass tongue and lying and propping people up with what? Propaganda. All right, like we was just talking about the gift destroyed the heart. He tell you good smooth things and then take advantage of your ass. You know, if you can't understand that, look at what these subprime mortgage people went through when they was getting these loans in 2008. He didn't come to you and was trying to sell you a mortgage like, you know this a fucked up mortgage, right? You know, you're going to sign the deal. Your first couple payments going to be cheap, but then we're going to raise the rates and we're going to take everything that you got. You're going to be homeless and shit. You're going to be fucked up. No, they didn't advertise none of that like that. They were like, look, you know, we know that so-called black people or whatever might be having hard times in America, whoever it is, we want to help you get this house or help you get another house or whatever, whatnot. We want to just help you out. Terms are low. It's the best time to get it now. All right. This is how they wind up getting this with this damn propaganda and stuff. All right. And this is what you see going on right now as they try to do this coup d'etat. They being exposed on this damn failed attempt of overthrowing the government or of uprising the people or getting the people to believe what they see on TV. A lot of Americans believe what they see on TV concerning all these situations, but nevertheless, there are stories that's creeping through. All right, and ultimately, the men of the Lord is bringing out the truth. All right. Let me continue on. It says Psalm 64:3. It says, "Who whet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words." All right. So again, they got their deceitful ass tongue and shit. All right. Coming up with their propaganda and their lies and things like that. That they may shoot in secret at him at the perfect. Suddenly do they shoot at him. All right. Again, with their propaganda, they not coming out at you with no, I'm gonna use the subprime mortgage thing again. They're not coming out at you like, yeah, come get a mortgage with us. We gonna fuck your shit up. No, but they don't sell you no shit like that, man. Nobody would ever sell you nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? They don't tell you nothing like that. All right. It says they encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of lying snares. Privately, they say, "Who shall see me?" They search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search. Both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep. All right. So it says they encourage themselves in the evil matter. They commune and lie in snares privately, and they say, "Who shall see them?" So, and then they also do, search out iniquities and accomplish a diligent search. All right. They going in, go on Google right quick and type in on Google Images the Tavistock Institute. All right. So the Tavistock Institute, if you see that image, all right, you'll see like a big ass octopus or a big ass like a family tree type of shit where, or a big ass web type of thing. How you have all these different, what they call sometimes think tanks and things like that. Like for an example, the CFR, I believe it's called a Center of Foreign Relations or something like that. You know what I mean? Basically, all these people are they just sitting in what they call like a think tank, man. They sit around all goddamn day thinking about how they gonna overthrow your ass. Jake would say these are jump out boys. All y'all do is sit there planning, plotting, scheming on motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? Y'all the ski mask boys. That's what y'all do. All y'all do is plan and plot on how y'all finna take the next person. All right, this is what Esau be doing, man. He the ultimate thugged out ass nigga, man. All right. It says, let me just go back up again. It says, hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity, who whet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even the bitter words, that they may shoot in secret at the perfect. Suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not. All right. They encourage themselves in the evil matter, and they commune of laying snares privately. They say, "Who shall see them?" They search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search. Both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep. But the Most High shall shoot at them with the arrow. Suddenly they will be wounded. So to make their own tongue to fall upon themselves, that they may see them, that all that see them shall flee away. All right. And so that's what you see going on right now. Like I said, Lord and I have these videos clipped to the end of this, but nevertheless, their own tongue be coming out to fall on their own let me grab a precept real quick. Obadiah 1:6. This is Obadiah chapter 1 verse 6. It says, "How the things of Esau searched out, how the hidden things sought up." All right. So the question is, how is Esau's secrets and all these different things being brought out? All right. How are these things? When you deal with secret societies and the Illuminati and stuff like that, all these things are real deep secrets and stuff. When you start learning about that, oh, you can't tell this, or you get your tongue cut out. So they said, how are the things that Esau sought out? How is his, the top secret things sought out? All right. It says, Psalm 64:8. It says, so, and this is one of the reasons, it says, so to make their own tongues to fall upon themselves, and all that see them shall flee away. So one of the ways is what Esau is exposing his own self. He didn't create this damn internet and gave everybody cell phones and YouTube and stuff like that to where everybody's consumed with this all day. But guess what? All of this is coming back to bite you in the ass now, man. You the one came up with all this stuff. You don't want to go out there and try to stage these coups and whatever, whatnot. But what, you getting sloppy with your stuff. Now you done gave all these people cell phones because you want to track every damn body, but everybody tracking all your wickedness with it. All right. They the ones putting your your stuff out on the spot. All right. So what? Your own tongue is coming, falling upon your own self. All right. Let me think. Since I hadn't brought that up, this is 2 Thessalonians 2:8. It says, then shall the wicked be revealed, all right, whom Yahweh shall consume with the spirit of his mouth and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. So what? The men of the Lord are out here exposing this so-called white man for being a damn devil, all right? These are the things that's going on. But not only are we out here saying it, it's to the point now where the Most High done put the spirit on these damn Edomites that they telling on their own self, all right? And all this is according to the scriptures, all right? So I'm going to go ahead and close out with that. Lord willing, this here lesson was edifying unto the elect. Like I said, stay tuned until, you know, there should be some more video after this with some clips. All right. So until next time, I say, call halal Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shah Bahashim Rakak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that taught us this truth and that rule well. And salutation and much love for you, Akim, pushing this truth and sincerity on the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. Till next time, I say, stay strong and shalom.
Just in the last 2 weeks, we've sent 5 military transport aircraft with 400 tons of food and medicine to Colombia and Brazil. As President Duque and I discussed today, our efforts to date will not only continue, they will be increased. Despite Maduro's brutality, we will press on. As we speak, we're identifying new areas along the border where we can pre-position additional aid for the struggling people of Venezuela. Today also, it's my privilege to announce that the United States will provide an additional $56 million to support our partners in the region as you come to the aid of the Venezuelan people, fleeing from the deprivation and oppression of the Maduro regime.
Of Colombia and Venezuela. There was an incident there. It sounds like the so-called good guys wanted to feed the starving people of Venezuela. And they happened to be endorsed and supported by the president that we appointed, you know, out of clear blue, Guaido. He's their president, but the original president that was elected, he doesn't count anymore. So we're there, and it looks like, Guaido wants to feed the people, and along comes, but Maduro doesn't want it.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden the truck gets blown up, and the food burned, so it didn't work. They didn't get the food in there. And now it's just sorting it all out. But to blame, of course, to accelerate the conflict there, we have to blame Maduro, because he's starving his own children, starving the people, gassing his own people, cliche, of course. But it seems like this recording has been played once before. And I think they're trying desperately to accomplish the complete coup. And they're running up against a little bit of a resistance, because we just declared out of the blue, well, we don't like that president. We're going to appoint Guaido, and he's a constitutional president, and the constitutional argument doesn't hold much water. Yeah. Even if he wanted to stretch it. But anyway, there has been this effort to try to finally get rid of Maduro, and so it involves an oil and feeding this children and all these things. But this, of course, we lean toward believing this is a false flag, that it was done not by Maduro, but by Guaido.
And this weekend was the big showdown. It was a week ago that the U.S. selected president of Venezuela announced that he was going to take a big, massive group of people, hundreds of thousands, go over there to Colombia and get that aid that the U.S. was just trying to simply give to the Venezuelan people. He was going to lead the charge. He was going to be the president and lead the masses to get the aid. The thing is that nobody followed him. There wasn't anyone following.
Nobody came.
Nobody came. And it really was essentially a failure. And so there were some provocations. And now you'll see in the mainstream media, they may change their tune, but they'll say that, Maduro, he couldn't block the aid, so he burned it up. And actually, there's some video that shows that story is a big question. First of all, there were the Venezuelan military and where the aid was were very, very far apart. So they never, the aide was in Colombia. So actually we have a video that will roll that's been going around, probably not on the mainstream media, but the opposition, pro-opposition guys were making Molotov cocktails and throwing Molotov cocktails over toward the Venezuelan security officers, military officers. And you can see here's where one went over there, right onto the truck. And then the next thing you see the truck burning. So it was an errant Molotov cocktail that the pro-opposition groups had thrown, and looks like it caught it on fire. In fact, we have another picture of the, here's some opposition guys right next to the freighter with the food on it with a gas can, pouring gas on it. So it's kind of hard to pin this on Maduro's military when you've got this kind of this kind of evidence.
Yeah, that's right. First off, they were going to set it up so the United States could allow the flow of weapons to the good guys, in order to overthrow the government. Their other goal was to have a lot of defections, have the military defect and the police defect, and have this uprising. And that doesn't seem to have occurred. And they wanted to make sure that the people were knowing that they were having a lot of support. But all in all, they were doing all these things. But the ultimate goal was to say, our last test, send in the troops, send in the military, send into the thousands of troops. They may well do it, but for some reason in my mind, I don't think that's going to happen. In my estimation of how Trump operates, I think he's not going to give up. But I just can't see him landing troops in that country. I don't think that's part of his personality. He has strong desires and strong demands and wants things change, but I may be absolutely wrong on that. I hope I'm not wrong. At least he won't send in 20,000 troops and, to show who's boss, but they're not going to give up, because they're going to continue to try to take over and destroy anything that Maduro is in charge of.
And you can only imagine what the neocons are whispering in Trump's ear. This is going to be a cakewalk. It's going to be super easy. Don't worry. We named this guy. It doesn't matter that no one's ever heard of him. We'll name him president. The whole place will fall like a house of cards, and it'll be a great victory. Well, it's not working out that way. They were not able to breach the border. They were not able to get the aid supplies in. What, of course, you won't see in the mainstream media is there was just a huge shipment of Russian aid that landed in Venezuela. So aid is getting in. The UN is sending in aid. They just don't want aid from the U.S. There was a handful of relatively low-level defections from the National Guard, I think about 30. But that is nowhere near critical mass. And now Guaido has left the country. Yeah, but the propaganda does work, and the theme is he's starving his own people. He's starving his own people. It's just what they did with Gaddafi, and it works. People think, and in fact, Max Blumenthal, who's done some great work down there, he went in, he was touring some of the grocery stores down there, and the shelves weren't empty. They had a bunch of stuff in there. So it's once again, it's like the babies from the incubators. But speaking of Rubio and Gaddafi, he got into a little bit of hot water yesterday because he tweeted out a picture of Gaddafi in his glory when he was ruling and a big smile on his face, and then next to it was Gaddafi covered in blood. He had already been sodomized with the bayonet and shot. And basically, this is a warning to Maduro. This is going to happen to you. And it boomeranged on him because people just really thought this was over the top. And plus, if you're looking for examples of U.S. liberations to being success, Libya is hard.
If you know a humanitarian crisis in Gaza and in Yemen and in Syria, and in Sudan and in Somalia, you wouldn't say there is a humanitarian crisis in Venezuela. And at no point when I was walking the streets in Venezuela did I feel threatened, or did I see violence, or did I consider that this country was undergoing a humanitarian crisis. But I see human rights more and more being instrumentalized to destroy human rights. There is a weaponization of human rights. I see the rule of law being instrumentalized to destroy the rule of law, and unfortunately, the complicity of the mainstream media. What
Many people will say the crisis cannot be blamed on the sanctions, of course, that sanctions are being used as a scapegoat for Maduro's economic failures. Alfred, talk about the impacts of the sanctions thus far and the new sanctions that were just implemented on the state oil company.
What is particularly Machiavellian, what is particularly cynical, is to cause an economic crisis that threatens to become a humanitarian crisis. That's what the United States has done through the financial blockade, through the sanctions. And then to say, oh, we're going to offer you humanitarian help. We're sending so and so many tons of humanitarian assistance through U.S. aid. We're sending it to Colombia, and we're going to deliver it. Now, I think that here Juan Guaido is being shall we say, the jockey. He is riding on the Trojan horse of the United States. But the solution of the problem is much easier than the Band-Aid of sending some packages of food or of medicine. The solution is in my report. What I told the Human Rights Council is that the financial blockade has had extremely adverse human rights impacts. Obviously, the origin of the current economic crisis is in the fall, the dramatic fall in the price of oil. But normally, you would be able to fix that. A country as wealthy as Venezuela should have been able to borrow money on its enormous natural resources and then would have been able to buy and sell like anybody else. But no, the United States has made sure that because of the threat of enormous penalties to the U.S. Treasury, the banks have been closing the accounts of the Venezuelan government and of the Petróleos of Venezuela. Already in July 2017, Citibank unexpectedly decided, without prior notice and arbitrarily, to close the bank accounts of the Central Bank of Venezuela and the Bank of Venezuela in November 2017. Citibank blocked the transfer for a shipment of more than 300,000 doses of insulin. In November 2017, the company Euroclear retained $1.65 billion that the Venezuelan government had paid for the purchase of food and medicine. Citgo, the Venezuelan state oil company based in the U.S., has not been able to transfer its profits outside the United States of America. It needs that money to buy food and medicine. And it is in the neighborhood, I think, by now of $9 or $10 billion that have been withheld. There again, Wells Fargo Bank withheld and canceled payment of $7,500,000 made by Brazil to Venezuela for the sale of electricity. In May 2018, the Venezuelan Minister of People's Power informed that a financial transaction amounting to $7 million for the purchase of dialysis supplies for patients, including children and adolescents, requiring such treatment had been blocked. So you see here the immorality of it, but not only the immorality of it, there is personal criminal liability for the impact of these sanctions. I mean, I am certain that the increase in child mortality, the increase in maternal mortality, the increased deaths for lack of insulin or lack of antiretroviral drugs is a direct result of this blockage, so that Venezuela has not been able to purchase what its people deserve. It's not like the government doesn't want to distribute. Is that the government is being, through an external economic war, is being asphyxiated. And that was the name of the game. What the United States intended to do was to create a situation whereby the people or the military would topple the government, and then the 1% could again come in and could again control the wealth of Venezuela. Venezuela had succeeded in bringing millions and millions of Venezuelans out of extreme poverty. Nobody cared in the 1980s and 90s that there were millions of Venezuelans dying of hunger and malnutrition. No one cared. It was a government that was palatable to Washington, and a government that was a right-wing government. The moment that a left-wing government came in power, priority number one in Washington was to topple it.
And now you have the Bank of England seizing the gold, right, from Maduro, over $1 billion worth, and threatening to give it to Juan Guaido.
That's yet another violation of international law. But try to bring the United States before the International Criminal Court or before the International Court of Justice.
But the truth is power is pretty strong in deciding these issues. And of course, we have the power and we have the economic power, and we've tried to starve the children already. You know, we're the ones that interrupted and put on the sanctions and caused. Yes, they had a lousy system. They were more socialistic than we are, and they were having troubles, and they had a bad guy. But the whole thing is it isn't just been a year that we've been doing this. We've been doing this for quite a few years. And of course, we went through this with Colombia, and we finally got token ownership of Colombia. That's why we're there and staging the operation in Colombia. They have no choice because they've done what we told them. And, the rule is if they do what we tell them, we take care of them, we give them money. If they don't, we'll get rid of you and we'll bomb your country.